QuickBooks Online has three areas that there's a menu. There's the gear menu, the plus menu, and the side menu. So I'm going to go over each of the menus with you and show you what are the most important aspects of each menu that you need to know. Let's start with the gear menu. If you click here on the gear, this is going to open up a drop-down menu, and you'll see that there are various columns with links under it. Under your company, you will likely go to Accounts and Settings, which is where you update and change your company's settings. So there's another video that walks you through how to adjust your company's settings and which settings you should adjust, but just know that under Company, this is where you are going to adjust your settings. If we go back to the gear, we have Manage Users. Now, Manage Users is where you will invite accountants or add additional users to your account. Then we have Custom Form Styles, which this is where you would edit and customize your invoices. So if you plan on using QuickBooks Online for invoicing, you definitely want to come and play around in this menu. We have a Chart of Accounts link that just goes straight to your Chart of Accounts. And QuickBooks Labs, which is experimental plugins for QuickBooks Online, and you would use these at your own risk. So they aren't fully released yet, but if you like to play with new technology, you might like QuickBooks Labs. Under lists, we have shortcuts to various lists. And what you see here will depend on the version of QuickBooks Online that you're using. Probably the most helpful list that you're going to be using is your products and services list, or your recurring transactions list. Next, we have tools. So unless you're importing or exporting data, you're rarely going to use anything on this tools list, so you can sort of just ignore it. Now let's move over to the plus menu. So the plus menu you can also think of as a shortcut menu. So everything that's listed in this menu you can access via another route, but it's very easy to just go up to the plus sign and access these various items. Under customers, the most frequently used shortcut you're going to use is going to be invoice, receive, payment, and estimate. I use this a lot just to quickly create an estimate or an invoice. Under vendors, you're rarely going to use this unless you're in QuickBooks Online Plus and entering bills. Most of you are in QuickBooks Online Essentials, which means that you won't have access to most of these features. Employees, again, you're rarely going to use this unless you're using QuickBooks Online for time tracking, and that's only available in QuickBooks Online Plus. And then other, you're rarely going to use any of these unless you're doing journal entries, which you should leave up to your hike bookkeeper. Let's move on to the side menu. So here, the dashboard is basically what is considered home in the QuickBooks Online landscape. And what you see here is a snapshot of your current finances. So you can easily look at different time frames if you adjust these arrows. So this one shows last month, but I could show this quarter or last year, whatever you want to see. And that's true for any of these. Here on the side, you'll see your bank feeds. If your bank accounts are connected to your bank in QuickBooks Online, you will see both your bank balance and also your balance in QuickBooks. And then you'll also see the number of transactions that are ready for you to review, which we will be going over in another video. If you come here to banking, banking takes you to the bank feed review window. Again, we're going to be going into depth about that later. And then also it takes you to bank rules, which is where you can create custom rules for your transactions. Next we have sales. So if you come here to all sales, you will see a list of all of your sales, your invoices, your sales receipts, and your payments. If you come over here to invoices, here at the top, you will see a list of your overdue invoices, your open invoices, and then as you scroll down, all of your paid invoices. Next, we have customers. This is going to be your customer list. So every customer that you enter into QuickBooks, you can find here. And if you click on a customer's name, you can find all of the invoices, payments, and estimates. Basically, any transaction that is associated with the customer will show up in their profile. So we're going to come back here to all sales. And then finally, we have your products and services list, which is a list of all of your products and services that you sell that would potentially show up on your invoices. So if we come here to expenses, we have two submenus. There's expenses, which is quite literally a list of all of your expenses. It's very rare that you're going to be using that submenu. And then there's vendors. So vendors are just like customer profiles, and each vendor has its own profile. So it will show you all expenses or transactions related to the vendor. Now, a really important thing to know about vendors is if you are going to be using QuickBooks Online to track your 1099s, for every vendor that you are planning on 1099ing, you go to their profile, you click on Edit, and then you come all the way down here and you click this box called Track Payments for 1099. And that will signify to QuickBooks that this is a 1099 vendor, and it'll start keeping track of all the payments you make for it so you can run a really easy report at the end of the year. Next, we have workers. There's employees. You're not going to be using this because you're using Gusto for your payroll processing. And then we have contractors. So you're more likely to use the contractors section, because this is where you are going to be able to very easily, with a click of a button, prepare your 1099s via QuickBooks Online and also see a list of all of your 1099 vendors. So if you remember a moment ago, we turned on 1099 tracking for myself in the contractors tab, and now we see that showing up here under contractors. Next, we have reports. Now, there are a lot of reports available in QuickBooks Online, so you can go through and play with all of these reports yourself, but you can see there's quite a few reports, and anytime you star a report, it shows up right here under your favorites. There's also custom reports, so if you make a custom report and you save it, it will show up here. And then there's management reports, which are basically reports that will probably be used more by your accountant. Taxes is for sales tax. So this is not where QuickBooks is going to calculate any of your taxes for you. It's where it tracks your sales tax that you collect and the sales tax payments that you make to the appropriate sales tax agencies. Accounting. There are two parts of accounting. The first is your chart of accounts. This is where you can view and edit your chart of accounts, and also where you can view the balances of all of your accounts, which not only include your bank accounts, but also include your assets and any loans that you may have. We'll be having a video a little bit later that goes into the chart of accounts a lot more in detail. Next, we have Reconcile, and Reconcile opens the reconciliation window, where you can reconcile your bank accounts. Again, we'll be going over a video with more detail about how to reconcile your bank accounts later. Finally, you have My Accountant. This is where you can securely upload and share files with your accountant. And that's everything in terms of navigating QuickBooks Online and the menus that are nested within the menus.